How often do you listen to a tech show recorded from a village that looks like a postcard that's come to life? That's right, I'm speaking to you from Alpbach in the Austrian Alps, where this week TechSummit 25 has taken over this quiet mountain community from Tuesday to Thursday. But if you want to see what I'm seeing, please hop over to my Instagram and social channels for clips and photos that maybe do this place a little bit more justice than I can do on an audio podcast, because it really is just simply a beautiful setting for a very serious security conversation. Because this is the home of Barracuda's annual Tech Focus gathering, and the mood here is very hands-on. You can find workshops run by Barracuda sales engineers, deep technical sessions with product experts, and roadmaps that show where the company is heading. It feels like an event that is by specialists for specialists. And that's one of the many reasons that I think makes it the right place to ask the hard questions about things like consolidation, response times, and where does AI fit safely into all of this? And my guest is someone who sits right in the heart of this product conversation. His name's Neal Bradbury. He's the Chief Product Officer here at Barracuda. And he's responsible for engineering, product management, and the operations that keep services running right around the clock. And he has quite literally just stepped off stage after a session titled Secured Today, Secured Tomorrow, Barracuda's Way Forward. I've just grabbed him because I want to talk about the platform direction behind Barracuda One, which you may have heard about this year, how to cut down tool sprawl without losing control, and why XDR and Zero Trust are rising priorities, and what is the real shift from reactive firefighting to proactive defense. What does that look like in practice? But before I introduce today's guest, I want to thank our sponsors, Careerist. Because here's the truth. You don't need to know how to code or learn how to code to have a career in tech. Let's bust that myth straight away. And Careerist QA Bootcamp is a proven launchpad for career changes. In just 4 months, you can have expert-led training, a remote internship, and personal coaching to guide you straight into a new role. And the numbers, if you're a numbers person, they speak for themselves. More than 37,000 QA jobs are open in the US right now, and with starting salaries that can reach $105,000. Not to mention the fact that graduates are working across 42 different states, and the program has earned a very respectable 4.7-star Trustpilot rating, combined with the fact that if you don't land a job, Careers will give you your tuition fees back. So there seems very little risk here. The only risk is, in fact, that seats are limited for the upcoming cohorts, and that's why I'm working with Careerists to get this message out there. So please check the link in the description to get started. And with that, it's now time to introduce you to today's guests, and sit back and enjoy today's interview. So thank you for joining me on the podcast today. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Hey, Neal. Thanks for having me today. My name is Neal Bradbury. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Barracuda. We're a cybersecurity company based out of Campbell, California. And my role is I drive innovation. And more specifically, I'm responsible for engineering, product management, and all the operations folks that keep our solutions running 24/7, 365.
Thank you so much. I mean, we're talking here at the Barracuda Tech Summit in the breathtaking scenery of a small remote town in Austria, which sits at 3,000 feet above sea level in the Austrian mountains. I've got to ask, what do you love about this event? Because I attend 15 to 20 events a year. This is by far the most beautiful.
This probably has to be the coolest on scenery. I'll give you that. And one word of wisdom, if you do have a significant other, don't send them a picture home. Like, that's like the one thing, just don't do it. This is like literally working or living in a postcard. I don't know how people do it. But for me, this one is a very technical event, as opposed to maybe some of the other events like Barracuda Discover that we do. Even last week in Chicago, a lot of channel partners, a lot of maybe some sales reps and C-levels for our various customers and partners. This one, it's the technical people. It is effectively all of the solution architects, all of the people that are practitioners in the business. And really at Barracuda, why it's exciting is we send in engineers, we send in engineering managers, we send in product managers. And so the entire stack on the engineering side is here represented. And so they get to have conversations with our customers and our partners on their solutions, hear it real time. Sometimes they don't want to hear all the feedback that they're actually getting, but it's also a great way for us to be able to get insight on some of our proof of concepts. Some stuff is actually discussed with partners or customers that may be leading edge, maybe something that we're thinking about, and we can kind of test some of these ideas. So for me, it's all about the technology. It's pretty cool just to be here. And this event has been going on, I think, for a couple of decades at this point.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. And also to be able to get your geek on in such a fantastic surroundings is amazing. And of course, you've just come off stage. Your session today was titled Secured Today, Secured Tomorrow, Barracuda's Road Forward. So for people that have not attended the event this year, tell me a bit more about the key message that you've shared with attendees today.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Barracuda's been around, as mentioned, a couple of decades. And so we have a vast portfolio of solutions to protect businesses. So in the keynote, the real takeaway is, what are we on the truck today? And then what are we thinking about moving forward as the businesses change, as the security landscape changes? What are we doing to compensate? And really just giving a lot of the attendees more of an advanced glimpse of what does the next 3, 6, and even 12 months look like on our product roadmaps, how the solutions will converge and come together, and really just getting them to understand our focus on Barracuda One and what does that mean for them. A lot of our partners and customers are used to using maybe one of our product groups, maybe their application security, maybe their network security. So they may be like, hey, what is this Barracuda One thing? What's this platforming thing mean? And it's really just articulating to them, it's all going to be okay. We're still investing in our product groups, but this really is a convergent story due to what's happening in the market. One of the other things I discussed was we did a study in the beginning of the year with Vance and Bourne. Marketing team at Barracuda, great. We'll give them a quick plug. But they basically did a study that surveyed somewhere around 2,000 security professionals. And one of the things that came out loud and clear is they have too many security tools. And really the output of the security tools, or the downstream impact of having too many security tools, is the configurations could be wrong. They might be slower to respond to threats, slower to respond to risks. And so any information, you can go to our site, barracuda.com, and you can get the full study. But again, it's really making them realize, hey, we got this. We understand the pains that you're going through. And this is kind of where our forward product direction takes us.
And away from the event, I should highlight that you've been with Barracuda since the acquisition, I think, way back in 2015. So how has the company's approach to cybersecurity evolved over that time? So much has changed. We've had a global pandemic, we've had AI arrive, but what have you seen change?
I mean, the most amazing thing is I'm still 25, and I don't know how that works, but it happens, Neal. No, we've definitely had a few changes over the last 10 years in the world and at Barracuda. For us, our focus has really remained the same: customer first attitude, partner first, supporting our partners. We have had to maybe pivot as partners have pivoted. And what I mean by that is, as you went through the pandemic, as you've seen partner channels change, it's more about managed services. It's more about subscription revenue versus reselling. Reselling is still strong, but you are definitely seeing a lot of partners pivot to more of that managed services. I love managed services. It's kind of one of the reasons they bought Intronis back in the day at Barracuda. And so for us, it's really, how do we articulate our portfolio and make sure that we keep that kind of pivoting to the challenges of today that our businesses are facing. But ideally, it's customer first, and we've always been doing it.
And fast forward back to today at the event, when we talk about that phrase, secured today, secured tomorrow, what does that really mean in practice for businesses that are trying to protect themselves? It's a great line, but what does it mean?
I won't tell you that Gen AI helped us come up with that. But that's my plug for generative AI. It's amazing for titles. I'm sure you use it in podcasts. I won't make you admit it. But for me, look, businesses need to assess where their security posture is today, but they really need to look forward and have a plan. It's changing so fast nowadays. If you don't have a plan, you're going to get caught off guard. And so what I was attempting to articulate is, hey, look, this is what is on the truck for Barracuda. This is our amazing, vast security portfolio. This is maybe what they're using. And here are some opportunities for other solutions that they can use to increase their security posture. But then truly, they need to be looking forward from a strategic perspective. Hey, what am I doing over the next 1, 2, or 3 years as it relates to my security posture? Klaus Geary, my VP of NetSec, he went through zero trust network access. It's a technology people need to deploy. Are they going to do it today? I hope so. But again, as they evolve and they get rid of VPNs and they do more and more cloud applications, zero trust is something they need to invest time in. There's also, for us, we realize that someone might not know all the vulnerabilities. So one of the other things we talked about was managed vulnerability security. So if a business doesn't know how to find the risks in their environments, we will help them do it. They can hire us as a service to do it, whether it's an MSP, whether it's a customer, and be able to point all the various risks that we see. Again, secured today, secured tomorrow. We want to make sure that they know what they need to do to secure themselves for tomorrow.
And something else we've been talking about for the last 10 years is that need to move cybersecurity away from being reactive, be more proactive. And your role involves thinking ahead. So how do you balance immediate threats right now with preparing for the longer term challenges? Quite a balance, I would imagine.
It is absolutely a balance. At Barracuda, since I have kind of taken over this newer role a little over a year and a half ago, we've really started to look at our product roadmaps, look at our solution roadmaps, and start to pivot as we can and where possible more towards kind of the R&D to continue to innovate. What we have been releasing on a quarterly cycle has increased, and so it's working. So I'll go with that. But look, security has always been reactive, and it's a balance. And so our product teams and our security operations teams kind of focus on the now, making sure that our customers are protected. And then what we do is we look at future roadmaps, we balance. What are we seeing? And you saw it today in the presentation. Hey, there's some glimmers of something we see happening 12 months from now, 18 months from now. How do we start to work on this now? How do we get ideas? You asked me about 3,000 feet above sea level at Alpbach, right? This is an event for us where we get to take some of those ideas that we're thinking about, try them in front of the partners, try them in front of the customers, and see if they stick to kind of continue to move the ball forward. For me, managed services, why do managed services? It's about proactive versus reactive. At the end of the day, 10 years ago, it was about a IT reseller. Someone would call, my computer broke. All right, I'll be there tomorrow between 9 to 3, right? Managed services changed the game. It was like before the customer even calls the MSP, they're already seeing errors on the hard drive. They've already dispatched the technician to replace that hard drive in kind of this physical example that I'm using. And it's the same thing with security. More and more, this is turning into proactive. One example I'll tell you that we're investing is this advanced threat remediation. It's the time to respond. And so after I presented this morning, the Security Operations Center team came up and started showing some of the integrations they're doing where if we start to sense something, we'll automatically take an action, if they give us permission, to do so, to allow us to be more proactive versus reactive, because of that time to respond is so important.
I think another topic that's dominating conversations in cybersecurity teams is things like alert fatigue. Something you mentioned this morning, tool sprawl as well, which is a massive problem. And Barracuda, you've got a broad portfolio of solutions. So where do you see the most innovation happening right now, and how is that shaping your road?
I like all my children equally. We don't pick favorites. Wow, how dare you ask me that question, Neal? But no, look, all the teams are innovating on a daily basis to make sure that, their solution continues to adapt to the changing climate, changing business needs. Just to give you a few examples of items that are at the top of the list that we're vocalizing here today at TechSummit. One is the release of Barracuda One, but specifically the dashboard. This allows customers and partners to really understand, are the solutions configured properly that they've deployed by Barracuda? How do we consolidate the alerts? Your alert fatigue example. So as we bring all these solutions together, we're showing you what's configured properly, maybe where there's some enhancement you should make. All the alerts now for all those solutions are in one location. If you're an MSP, it's consolidating the alerts across all your customers. So no longer do you have to have multiple windows or tabs open to do your job. The last one is really on value reporting. So if you're a board member of an organization, Neal, right, and you're like, where's my cybersecurity money going, right? You can literally see from the IT administrator, from the CIO, or the outsourced partner that they're using, hey, look, this is what we're using Barracuda for. Here's the millions of threats we've prevented. Here's kind of the solutions deployed. And if they're using selfish plug, managed vulnerability security, here's effectively kind of the items that they need to go and repair or fix to address risks moving forward. I would also say that we're investing in XDR. It is growing like crazy. A lot of businesses need help in managing a security operations center. And it goes back to, as we discussed, time to respond. And so we are doing a lot of investments. We're having a lot of the various product groups, application security, network, email, and data, invest time in their roadmaps to really now integrate with XDR and also Barracuda One, because we see this as kind of your question, proactive versus reactive. We see that as the future moving forward.
And going back to your experience leading the MSP business, what role do you think service providers play in helping keep organizations secure, especially those smaller enterprises that we don't talk about enough, that don't have those in-house teams, the luxury of those teams?
You may not talk about the focus here at Barracuda. I'm only kidding with you, Neal. So it's kind of fun calling someone else my own name, by the way. I'm not going to lie. Look, service providers, and this has been doing this for over a decade, they play an ever-increasing role. If you are a business, I don't care if you have 5,000 or less employees, 5,000 or more, I'd be shocked if there's not some type of a managed service provider doing something in an organization. It could just be managing a firewall. It could be managing, outsourcing the security operations center. But as you go lower down, maybe 250 employees and under, almost all our IT security is actually outsourced. To directly answer your question, what I'm hearing from a lot of partners that they're investing in is actually vCIO or virtual CIO services, or vCISO, virtual Chief Information Security Officer type services. Because in that kind of category of, let's say, 0 to a couple of thousand employees, you may or may not have that full-time role in your organization. And what partners have realized is they need to provide a plan. Yeah. They need to provide a strategy. They need to provide the risks that the businesses are facing. And a lot of businesses, look, it's outcome driven. I might be a small contractor and I need to comply with a medical regulation, or I need to comply with a state regulation or a country regulation, right? They don't really care on the nuts and bolts to get it done. And so by having more of a business outcome type approach in those virtual CIO and virtual CISO type services, it elevates the MSP or the service provider from not just being the guy that kicks the box and makes it work, but really to being a strategic business advisor, and it changes the conversation. And so we're seeing a lot of successful MSPs, but a lot of MSPs kind of pivot in that regard.
And we're at a tech conference, so we've somehow gone 20 minutes without mentioning AI, so we need to correct that straight away. And looking at my notes here, there's a great line you used in your keynote today, which is AI is like a reckless intern. And if you don't put the guardrails in place, things can get scary pretty fast. And AI and automation, they're changing security at a rapid pace right now. So how are you at Barracuda? How are you approaching these technologies, both as that defensive tool and also a response to AI-driven threats too?
I have to be careful what I say. I didn't know I was being recorded. You said that. You literally said that verbatim, Neal. That was awesome. That was great. And let me just make, if the person that I stole that line from is listening to this podcast, I will give you all the credit if you reach out to me. No, but a CISO that I was chatting with a few weeks ago gave me that line. Look, across our portfolio, kind of a few examples of AI and how we're doing automation. So let's do automation first. So in the email security portfolio, we're investing in kind of the setup wizards and consolidating the UIs, because we know that we can reduce the configuration challenges, and we can also make it easier to deploy, buy, and use if we basically make it, a couple of minute process versus hours to go and effectively set up. So in my case, that's an example of automation where we've automated a lot of those screens and we've automated a lot of that setup. Another example of maybe automation is the incident response tool. I don't know if you have notes on that from this morning, but maybe not. Is the incident response tool where, look, no email security provider is perfect, okay? And so there's going to be something that maybe got through or a piece of spam, but allowing our partners and allowing our customers the ability to quickly go in and remediate that. Not only that, if you're an MSP, being able to go in and remediate it from 20 customers at the same time, that's huge. That's an automation. There's no way out, but that's an automation that we've built to make them more productive and allow them to move forward. If you look at AI specifically, it's really coming down to response. So a couple of things. I mentioned XDR, I'm going to repeat, so it must be important. How do we integrate with Microsoft tenants? How do we integrate with firewalls? Ours, of course, is the best, but how do we integrate with other third-party firewalls for network traffic? And then how do we integrate with endpoints? How do we isolate? How do you reduce with AI the amount of time it takes us to do this automated response? So it's not a human pushing a button, but it is effectively, oh my God, trigger 1, trigger 2, trigger 3, we see something bad. The machine learning picks it up, goes through hundreds of millions of events and says it's time to automatically respond. So that's a combination of a AI ML driven triggers with a workflow with automation that is reducing that time to respond. Whew, you didn't expect this long answer. And then the third one is, look, Barracuda has been doing AI and ML machine learning specifically for like a decade. We came out with this 10 years ago. And so in our advanced threat protection network, with most of our solutions integrate with, it's really trying to find more and more of the needles in the haystack. How do we inject large language models into our efficacy stack, which we have done over the past 6 months? There's a press release people can look at for our multimodal AI type solutions, where we're finding those very, very advanced threats and investing in AI and ML to make sure that we have that in our efficacy stack. The cool thing is, if I do that behind the scenes, convergence was another word you haven't asked. That was one of the ones that I used a lot this morning. But as we converge and you do more and more with these shared services, I can invest in the advanced threat protection network that Barracuda's had for well over a decade, and all my product groups and all my solutions benefit. And so that's one area where we're really trying to leverage more and more machine learning, more AI to improve all the products.
And I think here at a tech event, we've seen you deliver the keynote today, looked effortlessly, did a brilliant job. But of course, there was so much hard work behind the scenes writing and creating that keynote. So if we were to look behind the curtain, take a little peek there, for any attendee leaving your session, what was that one clear takeaway about Barracuda's road forward that you really hoped that you would deliver today?
Yeah. Barracuda is a innovative cybersecurity company delivering solutions and really converging from the lens of the customer. What are the outcomes that we can deliver to make sure that every business is protected the way they need to be to protect them from complex threats? We want to be easy to buy, deploy, and use, and easy is hard. But that's okay. We're up for the challenge. And as we move forward, investing in Barracuda One to make it so that there is this single dashboard that you can log into and understand the security posture of your business. So, we're here, we're going to continue to be here, and we just keep investing in being easy to buy, deploy, and use, and be here for our customers.
Now, I'm going to give you a bit of a curveball here. You've flown in from New Jersey. You've got a long flight home. You've probably got some noise cancelling earphones. Now, we have a Spotify playlist for the podcast where I ask my guests to leave a song to that playlist, or a book that they'd recommend for an Amazon wish list. All I'm going to ask is, what would you like to leave everyone listening as one final gift today?
A gift of a podcast that they can listen to on the way home, or a gift of a book?
Book or a song or a podcast. Let's go with a podcast. Let's throw that in there too.
I mean, if it was a podcast, I would probably do Tech Talks Daily. And so I have to point my favorite podcast download to this. But I would also say that there was a podcast that I subscribed to when I was looking at. So a lot of the times, discussions that I effectively have with partners and customers really have nothing to do with our solutions, but more about how can they protect their businesses, how can they pivot. And there was one that I actually downloaded and listened to on the plane, which I thought was great, which was the AI Daily Brief. And so it is on Spotify. They have a ton of different ones, but it's like yourself, it's a daily podcast, but it really talks about all the different uses of AI where people are investing. And
awesome. I'll add a link to that podcast so people can find it nice and easily. I might even cut out a little audio clip of you recommending Tech Talks Daily for promotional purposes. Only kidding. But more than anything, I know how busy you are today, so thank you for stopping by.
Awesome. Thanks, Neal. It was a pleasure.
Quick question to you all. What sticks with you after listening to Neal Bradbury's outline Barracuda's road forward? For me, it is the clarity around outcomes. Convergence is not a slogan here. It shows up in a single dashboard, one that teams see posture in tighter integrations across email, network, and application security, and in value reporting that helps boards understand exactly where their spend is delivering. When people complain about alert fatigue and tool sprawl, this, for me, feels like a practical response to that. And the second thread here is time. Response time is the currency. And you also heard why Zero Trust moved from theory to practice, and then throw in the AI piece. And the message is quite simple. Treat AI like a incredibly talented, but yes, reckless intern. Give it clear guardrails and let it help reduce the time from signal to action. And if today's talk maybe nudge you to recheck your own security posture, ask yourself one final question as you head back to your day. What will you change this quarter to be secure today and ready for tomorrow? And on that note, please email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Neal C. Hughes on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, all the usual channels, and my website, techtalksnetwork.com, where you'll find this podcast along with 8 different shows on different technology topics. But that's it today. So I'll be back again tomorrow with another guest. But thanks for listening as always. And I'll speak to you then. Bye for now.